Hey there. Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 198 is titled Tampere Flute Fest with Karin Bonelli. Hi!
Hello! Hi! How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great, I'm fine, thank you. Where are you actually?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Wow, that's a long way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And you're in Vienna?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You have a lovely setup. I love the couch and the blanket and the pictures.
Yeah.
Ooh la la.
My apartment here. It's just 6 minutes from the opera and from the Musikverein.
Wow.
Yeah,
I am so jealous.
It's quite nice. And I saw that you also have cats. My cats might show up during the interview.
Oh, okay. Not a problem. All fur babies are welcome.
Okay, good. Fine.
Oh, shoot. So how are you? I know it's like afternoon, evening over there.
We have, now it's 4 in the afternoon. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What did you do today?
Wow, today we already had our general rehearsal with John Williams.
Oh,
So, not so bad.
not so bad.
Yeah, tomorrow and on Sunday are concerts, and yeah, in the evening I'll play Salome.
Oh,
So that's just another day at the office.
how wonderful.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. We just came back from the US last Friday, and this week is already fully packed.
Wow. Where were you in the US?
We were in New York and in Naples, Florida.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, it was real summer, and here it's so cold.
Well, over here, like in the States, especially in the Midwest and Texas where I'm at, the weather is so schizophrenic. Like yesterday it was 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and today it's like 30. And it's like,
wow.
Come on. Pick a
Yes,
season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same here. Now it's really cold, but yeah.
Yeah. So you were born in Austria, correct?
I was born in Austria, yeah. Near Linz, that's like 2 hours from Vienna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you still have family nearby, or have they moved?
My father lives in Vienna and my mom still lives there in Upper Austria, this 2 hours away. So yeah, I'm quite close to my family, but I don't have very much time to go home, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure. So when you went to Naples and New York, I'm pretty sure you've traveled to New York 1,000 times, right?
Not 1,000 times.
Okay.
I think it was my 5th time or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
but I always love to go there.
Yeah. Is it the food? Is it the culture? Like, what do you love about New York?
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just the feeling when you walk the city. I can't describe it. It's multicultural. It's open. I mean, it's loud. It's chaotic, but it has so much flair and it's so special. I love to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't go there very often. I mean, usually it's every year, but due to COVID, we didn't go there for 2 years now. So it was really good to be back. And it was a chaotic tour, as you might have heard. We had to disinvite Gergiev, and it was a very difficult period now for the orchestra, but I think it's good now. Yeah.
How are people, because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole for too long, but since you brought it up, you've sparked my curiosity. How have been the players in the orchestra? How have they been dealing with things like this? Like, how are people coping?
Well, you know, we have many players from Russia. We have players from Ukraine. So it was a difficult situation. In the end, there was a lot of confusion about the whole situation. And at the end of the day, we just have to play together. We have to play all together. We have to make music together. And in the orchestra, there were no fights. There's no such thing as, I don't know, people being against each other just because they're from there or from there. So that's good. But of course, the whole situation was not easy to deal with. But we stuck together, and the orchestra is fine so far.
Yeah, I sympathize. It's a rough time for everybody.
Yeah, it is.
But I love
just
how
in the last Salome, there was the two string players before me. They were on one stand, and one was Ukrainian and one was Russian. And that was just so beautiful to see, actually, that they're just playing together. I mean, they're just people who love music, and why can't we just all be like that? It's a crazy world.
Yeah. That is a beautiful moment in remembering that music is so much bigger than all of us, and we have this common bond of this beautiful art, and no matter the differences or culture or conflict, that we can come together to create art and say something beautiful through it.
Sure.
Yeah. But before we dive into and focusing a little bit more on this wonderful Tampere Flute Fest.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm only in the jury, actually. I won't be there. So I'm not a real present guest artist, but I'm in the piccolo jury.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, we already had the first round, and it was really amazing to hear those people play. There were many participants and very many very talented participants. So it was hard to choose.
Yeah, that's what my last guest had said yesterday, Lisa. She was judging another category, and she said the age group was anywhere between, I believe she said like 10 and 16 or 12 and something around there. And she said her mind was blown. She said the musicality, the musicianship, the technique, she said she could not believe that some of these wonderful sounds were coming out of little bitty flute players, but she was just blown away.
Yeah, it was the same for the piccolo players. So really high level.
Wow, how wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So before we get into some questions that I'm curious about, and I can't wait to pick your brain, do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, anything that you would like to share regarding your musical background, what you're doing currently, and anything about your bio that you want to share? You don't have to go in too much depth, but I mean, unless people have been living under the rock or living under a rock, most people do know that you're a flutist through the Vienna Philharmonic, but anything else that you would like to share?
Yeah, I'm in the orchestra since 2012 now, so it's my 10th season already.
Wow.
It seems like 3 years, but it's already 10. I can't believe it myself. And yeah, I was raised by two flutists. So the flute runs in the family. My mother, my father, my uncle, and my brother are all flutists. And that's how I came to this instrument and started my journey in different universities. And it took me to the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra, where I'm currently working. I'm also teaching at the university in Vienna. I'm teaching audition repertoire, so orchestral repertoire it's called. And that's also why I then started to build my own academy, because I saw the questions and the issues that the students have, and the ways they are searching for in order to be themselves in the audition and be on their highest level. And that's why we created Penthesilea Academy. I don't know if you want to go into that, but that's what I'm currently doing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. I'm so glad that you noticed. So I want to highlight something you said. You noticed that certain students throughout the seasons or the years were having particular problems. Maybe it's, I don't know, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like I'm guessing like performance anxiety or having the right like mental capacity going into a high pressured audition, right? And you were noticing these problems that students were facing when it came to auditions, and you wanted to really dive in deeper and finding solutions for them. And so therefore you founded your academy.
Yeah, that's right. It's not only the mental issues that we all have when we are on stage, it's also the bodily balance we crave for in this moment. And not only in this moment, it's also if you get into the orchestra, you also have to keep your body healthy. You have to stay in balance. And I know what I'm talking about because for 3 years I had tremendous problems with my tendons and I didn't know if I can do my job anymore. So I know what it feels like. And I want my students to really have this kind of support and many solutions for different issues. And of course, everybody's different. And so we didn't want to just put out some group lessons and tell them how to do things, but we really focus on individual lessons, not only in the artistic repertoire, which of course I am teaching, but also in the psychological and the sessions in the bodywork. They're all very individual and customized for our students.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's so you can get into depth, really. We didn't want something superficial.
Now, you can totally cut me off and say, Heidi, I don't want to talk about that, and I will not be offended. But since you brought up how you tell me, I love that. Since you mentioned that you suffered 2-3 years with issues with your hand, do you mind sharing with the listeners like how you overcame that season in your life?
Yeah, there is no specific tool I can tell you which was the one that helped me then, because I did many different things. At the beginning, the doctor said it's just how do you call it, tendinitis? No.
Yes, you're correct. Tendinitis.
Yeah. And I felt it wasn't that, because it wasn't an inflammation. I felt it wasn't inflamed. So I went to many different people, to many different doctors and physiotherapists, and somehow I then came to Femi, who is part of the academy now. He does the body work for the academy, and he's a magician, actually. He once was a background singer with Elton John and Michael Jackson. He had an amazing career. He was a bodybuilder. He was an actor. He was everything. And then he came into Tai Chi, Qigong, Shaolin Kung Fu, and Shiatsu. And that is what he's doing. And he's really balancing the body. And I wanted my students to have that as well. So that's why he's part of the academy. But with that, of course, I took great care of nutrition and exercise, of course. All this area here, the muscles over here, they have to be moved. Yeah. And it's something you don't usually do during your day. So you have to have special movements and many different things. Yeah. So I hope this helps somebody.
Oh my goodness, yes. And thank you for being so honest and open, because I think a lot of musicians unfortunately feel like it's like a taboo hush topic not to talk about it, and they feel like they're in the closet alone, and going through injuries. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. It can be very disheartening. You can feel lonely, scared, especially when it comes to your career.
Of course. I was very scared. I really thought I can't do my job anymore, or at least not until I'm 65. If I have problems, I was 27 back then. Yeah. At the age of 27, how will that be at 65? And I know from my mother, who has also problems with her neck, because she can't play anymore. I knew that it's important to do something now. And I managed to do it.
Yeah.
Gladly. And I want to share this, of course. I'm very open with this because I think people have to hear it, that many of us, it's not only me, I have many colleagues who are now going to FEMI because they all have some kind of imbalance, mostly in our job because we're playing so much. The Vienna Philharmonic is actually two orchestras. We're the orchestra of the Vienna State Opera and we are the Vienna Philharmonic. We're going on tour. We're having like 3 weeks off during the year, which is beginning of July, and it's a very intense job and you have to take care of your body and of your mind too. And that's why we also share this. Seiya, my academy, is doing an online program now which will launch, I hope, in 2 months, where Femi will also share his wisdom online for everybody. So
That's amazing. That's phenomenal. Well, I got excited with everything you said, but a couple of things. One, we're coming up to episode 200 through Flute 360. So we've been doing this now for 4 years. And I think in the 200 episodes, I cannot remember anybody saying the word magician, it really captured my ear.
Yeah, that's just a nickname for him because
No,
he's
I love
very
that.
special.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, kudos to you for having such a heart of servitude to say, here is a problem and what is the solution, and really coming around your students in such a wonderful, warm, impactful way to say, here, we need to look at the whole person, right? And that's why I'm so excited, because that's literally like the foundation of 360, is looking at the human, and of the human, it's the mind, it's the body. And then that helps the artistry, right?
Yeah.
And then that gets to help us what we do through our business and what we do in our career.
Of course, artistic growth is always also personal growth, and it's not only mind and body, it's also spirit. And you have to take all those three into consideration in order to really grow. And sometimes it takes pain to grow. And because I can say that from this period, which was really difficult on every level, I gained so much of it. I learned so much about myself and also about the people around me, about my supporting system. And I met people, incredible people like Femi, who are now a part of my life and a very important part of my life. And I think we all have to get vulnerable, and also the teachers have to show that we're all just humans and we all have to find our way. And we can only be an example to our students if we also show our whole being. If we only show what we can, then they also miss out on something they could learn, maybe. I don't know. It's just my point of view.
No, I completely agree. And it's really interesting. I did not plan for this to happen, but within all 4 Tampere interviews these last 2 weeks, everyone has used the word vulnerability, being vulnerable. And that's really interesting because I love connecting dots. Do you know what I mean? If like people from across the globe, whether from Austria or France or England, and we're all saying the same thing, there's something to that. There should be something where some part of us kind of perks up and says, wait a second, Karin said this and Sebastian said this. And do you know what I mean? And so it really, no, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And it's interesting how everybody is kind of touching on that subject.
Yeah, it's also opening up now a little bit. I have the feeling in general in the musical world that people are opening up more. It's not anymore this kind of perfect picture thing, but that it gets really more human now at the moment. It's a very special moment in time for us artists, I think. Also, maybe because everything that's happening around us in the world, maybe that gets us closer together. I don't know.
No, I completely agree. Do you think it was the pandemic, like only 2 years ago, that made us start talking about these things? Or do you think there was kind of a wave that was setting us up for this? But because I completely agree, like being a student, like even like 10, 15 years ago compared to now, I mean, when I was 18, 19 years old, working towards my undergraduate degree, even 15 years ago, it felt very like, you know, very formal, and here's, the facade, and very traditional. And even in my last degree, I think I started seeing things shift where we were talking about health more, and there was more of this vulnerability aspect to it within probably the last 5 years. So maybe around like pre-pandemic, pandemic, this door started opening.
I can't tell the moment when it did, but yeah, definitely this time during the pandemic where everybody was more alone with himself or herself, it gave us time to reflect, and maybe it also opened some additional doors. But I think that the whole movement, if you call it like that, started already before, as you said. I don't know, like, maybe 5 years ago, I can tell.
Yeah. It makes you think, because you're right. Like we are seeing the winds of change happen like right before our eyes. And I think it is a really exciting time.
It is.
Cool. So the one thing, well, I want to circle back to your academy again. If there was a flutist out there or a musician out there listening to this conversation and they're thinking, oh my goodness, like how amazing, like she opened up her own academy. I want to do something similar. What piece of advice would you give this person if they have an idea in their, in their noggin, and they're thinking, ooh, I would like to implement this, but I just don't know how? Any advice around that?
Do it anyway. Do it, of course. Everything that comes to you as an idea is maybe something you should do. I don't know, but be careful, because it's a lot of work. Much more than I thought it to be. And I have a very, very nice team now helping me. It's not only my partner, Markus K., who helped me start this thing, but also another person who's helping us now, but it's still a lot of work. Advice, I don't know. If you do it wholeheartedly, it's gonna be great. Yeah, but you have to put a lot of time, love, and effort into it. And I think that everything that opens musicians up more to this holistic view helps us all, actually. Helps the musical world in general. So I would encourage everybody to do something like that.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, just do it. A lot of times I say you have to just rip off the Band-Aid.
And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So we now had our first year, and we had feedback questions for our students, and they were so amazing. Because I'm honest, I was exhausted after the first edition, because it was just so much work, and I loved it. I enjoyed it so much, but after this week, I was just, and then the season started at the opera. And then came the feedback from the students, and it was so amazing and heartwarming that how they said that it's so good to have a place where you can be yourself, and where you can learn so much about really a specialized thing like audition training, and to have this holistic view with all the other people involved. And that gave me so much energy to go on and even expand, because this year it's not only for flutists, but it's also for trumpet players this year. We have an amazing coach for trumpet, and who does also the Wim Hof method. And it's gonna be great. So we're expanding, and I'm excited.
That's wonderful. So because you mentioned this, I want to kind of explore this area with you a little bit more. You said you learned so much, being a founder of this academy and directing it and teaching through it. What's one of the, if you can choose, because I know there's probably a ton of lessons you learned going through the process, but what is like the number one thing that you learned going through the process of establishing this academy?
Yeah, maybe it's that this openness and showing the vulnerability can help students so much, because then they open up, then they really show what they're searching for. Then you have very different conversations with them than as if you're just teaching. You can really talk about the core of the problems, and that helps the students a lot. And that also made me learn a lot about myself, because then I realized the things that made me musicians that not only are about the repertoire, but all the experiences I had came up again, and I could tell them maybe some new ways of thinking, and so that I didn't even know I had in me. So that was great. So my advice would be to just be open with people. That's always number one.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I was kind of perusing through your website and different social media platforms. And the one thing on your website that you said, I'm going to have to read it verbatim or I'm going to mess it up. But the one thing on your website that really caught my eye is you said that your task is to help young people find their own form of expression, their own voice through music. Now, I know it's a loaded question, but how do you start students? And I think we've already touched on it, maybe the vulnerability aspect, but how do you start students towards finding their own voice through music?
Yeah, that's a difficult question.
Yeah.
So the first step is to really see the student in their wholeness, and to get to know them, of course, not only on a musical level. I mean, you don't have to tell me your childhood trauma, but I have to get a feeling of the student and what he's searching for. So I'm often asking many questions to the students. So what are you searching for? Which kind of sound do you want to produce? Are there any flutists you adore? What is your ideal flute sound? Where do you want to go? Because I know where I want to go. I even know where I would love you to go, but maybe you have a totally different concept of your flute playing than I have. And of course, if I think that's technically and musically not really good, we will have to discuss that. But I want to know where you want to go. So that's the first step, I think. And then you can, I don't know, like a guide a little bit. You can show them the way how they can find their voice and not my voice, because I have mine, but they have to find theirs.
Yeah. And you're essentially, and I totally agree, because we only have so much time with our students throughout the day, an hour here, maybe an hour once a month, or however, long you see them, but they have to be their own best teachers. Like they have to get the resources from, teachers like yourself. But if you don't ask them these questions to get those wheels turning in their head, then it's going to be harder for them when they're practicing, a couple hours out of the day without that guidance. They need to be thinking of these things because they need to guide their practice session and guide their voice outside of lessons.
Of course, because I won't be there forever. So at one point, you are your own teacher. And the only thing that gets you more and more ahead is a vision. And you have to have a vision to where you want to go. Of course, there are things that are general, technical things, or also questions of style that I won't discuss. So you won't play Bach like Khachaturian. That's no way. But of course, in that, for example, if you're playing Bach, you have to have a really clear vision of how you want to sound like in Baroque music. What is your sound for Baroque music, and what is your sound then for Khachaturian? But you have to have a picture in your mind. And sometimes it happens that I ask my students, what do you want to say in this place, and how do you want to sound? And they're like, I've never thought about it. Okay, then you know what to do.
Yeah. Start thinking about it.
Yeah, because some students also are waiting there and hoping that the teacher will tell them how to play, but that's not my mission. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I love it. Yeah. Wonderful. So besides adjudicating through Tampere Flute Fest, are you giving a masterclass or anything like that? Sorry,
I'm for this year, I'm just in the jury of the Piccolo competition.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So because you are touring right now and there's lots of concerts and things like that, are there any upcoming concerts or recitals or other events that you would like to let people know about that are on your scheduling docket?
Well, now in April, there is the Flute Festival of the Austrian Flute Association, which will be a great thing, where many Austrian great flute players, colleagues of mine, will play, and me included. I will also give a small masterclass. And then there are in June some concerts with the Klangkollektiv Wien, with whom I will record all the Mozart concertos. So we will start that in June. And well, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it because thanks to COVID, it's a little bit not so sure, but I have a planned recital in Sydney Opera House on the 3rd of July. And I hope that we will be able to do that. And then we have the Salzburg Festival, of course, and then it's already Academy. End of August, we're starting on the 27th of August until the 5th of September.
Wow.
Those are next big projects.
Yeah. Wow. How amazing. So I know that we've talked about a lot today, from the festival to your academy to finding your own artistic voice. Is there anything that we kind of left out that you want to bring up? Like, is there something that you're really passionate about and you just want to shout it out from, the rooftops? Because I would hate to end this conversation and you're like, oh my gosh, Heidi, I wanted to talk about ... So yeah, any last sentiments that you want to offer the listeners?
I think we've touched on many, many things. It was a quite intense conversation for that short time. We were going deep and I love that. No, that was maybe my message. And I just hope that the world will come to a peaceful togetherness again, and that we can do our music making without borders again, because of course many concerts in Russia were cancelled. That's not the biggest issue, of course, but I'm really thinking a lot about my Ukrainian colleagues and friends, and we should stick together. That's what I want to shout from the rooftop. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I so appreciate your time and your expertise, and thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. And we don't take it for granted.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope that the content has served you well. The thing that I would love for you to do right now is go to my website at HeidiKaybegay.com. That's HeidiKaybegay.com. Go to the right-hand side of my website and you will see a tab called Subscribe. Click that bad boy and type in your information. The reason being is because I send out a weekly newsletter and it's jam-packed with value. These past 2 months alone, I have sent out discount codes on my friends' classes. I have sent out links to free ebooks and so much more. So if you're not on that newsletter, then you can't get those perks and discounts, links and codes. So go to HeidiKaybegay.com, join that mailing list, and I can't wait to see you there. Thanks. Let's talk about flute.